Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you for joining us for the October Student Development Administrators Update. We're glad that everybody was able to join us. And one last time, I'll remind everyone to mute your microphones and your telephones as we now get things going here. So thank you again for joining us. And we have several slides that we're going through. We will share the recording and we will share the slide deck out as soon as we get everything processed. So we will make sure we get that out to everybody who's joined us today. And one question, we ask for agenda items and questions when the invitation is sent out. And we did get an email question. And basically, there's some transition in the area of surge. And people were asking who's the primary contact while we're waiting for that new contract to get processed. And right now, our friend Lisa Eads on the curriculum program side of the house is serving as that primary contact for any surge questions, but feel free to send them to me to begin with if you need to. And then Lisa and I'll connect and we'll get any of your questions answered. We want to make sure that these updates are always of value to you and a benefit to you. So please, when you see that invitation go out and it has the link for agenda items, or it has the link for questions to propose, please don't hesitate to submit those agenda items or those questions for us, because we want to make sure we're providing the information that that you really need in order to successfully serve your students. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and move on. And first up is Brenda Burgess from Student Aid. Brenda, are you on the line?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone. I do apologize that I don't have my camera on. I'm having some issues with it. But just want to share a couple things with you. The FAFSA Simplification Act. Of course, I know you've been hearing all over your campuses. Many of our colleges are actually calling it FAFSA complication. But we will see in the next month just what this new FAFSA simplification is going to mean to the colleges in the form of the FAFSA form and some of the changes that it's taking. But I'm super happy to announce to you all that on tomorrow, the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority, or SEA, is going to be on our financial aid administrators call at 2:00. They are sharing or have shared some information that I've sent out to the colleges on Friday regarding the expected family contribution, that change or transition to what's going to be known now as the Student Aid Index. So your colleges have some individual analysis, and I know it looks like Greek to many of you. I've heard that from some of the colleges, but SEA is going to be discussing that analysis and also providing you with information on how it may impact your colleges as far as the number of students that would be eligible for the federal Pell Grant versus the numbers that may now qualify for the North Carolina Scholarship. So you will be able to kind of see and hear tomorrow on how that analysis will impact you, and you probably want to share it with your enrollment management team and also with maybe your recruiting team at your college. But that's tomorrow at 2:00 on the 24th. SEA will be providing that information, as well as we're going to have another SEA representative. Mr. Gene Ritter has agreed to join the call tomorrow to talk a little bit about RDS and financial aid. I know it gets a little tricky with the in-state versus out-of-state residency statuses as it relates to our military folks, but he's going to provide us with an overview of that. Long Leaf Commitment Grant is now available for 22-23 graduates. I sent out an announcement last week, and Brandy Massey and Tracy Mitchell have also sent out some information that for colleges to use to set up their workflow. And I believe as of Friday, I think the students that would be eligible for this grant, their information is already on the CFI portal. So it sounds to me like if colleges have their setup done, that they can go ahead and start awarding those students. Now, this awarding would go back to, would begin fall of 23, and it's for those students that graduated in the 22-23 calendar year. Of course, the same EFC information remains, EFC below $15,000. It's important to know that they have to complete the 23-24 FAFSA and enroll at least half-time at the college. So minimum award amount is anywhere from $700 to $2,800 for up to 2 years. And again, thanks to our friends over at SIA, they are administering CFI, and the system office have worked collaboratively on this. And we do apologize that it's a little late getting out, but with the approval of the budget was beyond our control. I think that's all I have today, Dr. Kelly. If I am open to any questions that you may have regarding anything that I've just reported on.
Excellent. Thanks, Brenda. Any questions for student aid, financial aid, and so forth? For Brenda, feel free to throw it in the chat or unmute your mic.
So do the students have to be enrolled for fall to therefore be eligible for spring and then next year like it has been previously?
Well, we were hoping that we would be able to capture those students that started fall enrollment. However, those students, if they did not start in the fall, their eligibility would begin in the spring, but it does end after 2 years. So, they would definitely, I hope that you would be able to capture many that started in fall, but if not, spring enrollment. That was a good question, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? Okay, so we'll turn things over now to student life and JJ. JJ, the mic is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for your participation today. 3 quick updates. First, you should have received a link to complete an Inclusive Excellence survey for your institution. We are still, those responses are due this Friday, and we are still reminding institutions to please submit that survey back to us. I believe it went to each of your equity contacts at your local institution. If you have any questions, feel free to send those to myself or Ms. Keisha Jones with the Student Success Center, as well as Davidson Davie Community College. Moving on to our SGA conference, it's within 2 weeks. The countdown is here. It's November 3rd through the 5th. We're going to be at the Rocky Mount Event Center. So please give a hug and thank your Student Life folks for traveling, doing the room reservations, and spending the weekend with us. Lastly, I did want to spend some time talking about the Underserved Outreach and Advising Grant. We recently submitted a report to NC-Pro actually today, talking about our expenditure rate, etc. So some of the feedback that we received is we are definitely under the target for our expenditure rate. Right now, or since the beginning of our grant, we've spent about 1.6 of $5 million. So there's about a significant amount of money that we will need to clear and expend within the next 13 to 14 months. And so this is a friendly reminder to please expend those funds. Again, they can be used for almost any project as it relates to outreach and advising for underserved populations locally at your institution. And those expenditures, again, could be used for a product, a service, professional development, personnel, et cetera. If you have any questions regarding what your institution is currently planning, or if your plans need to be altered or changed, please let us know as soon as possible so that we can return zero funds. I think that is always our target. Again, thank you for everything that you do for our students, and have a great week.
Thank you, JJ. Any questions for JJ about student life? Okay, so the next area that we have is the Finish Line Grants Program. As you know, or you may know, Allison Garman is the part-time coordinator for that program. You also may be aware that there's been recent legislation that has awarded funding, recurring funding for the Finish Line Grants Program. So that means if you're involved with Finish Line Grants, that means that there's now multiple buckets of money that is funding that project. And so we will begin looking at potential projections. We'll work on projections of the spending rates and work with each of the colleges to determine if you will be able to spend all of your money or not for the Finish Line Grants Program. So what we're kind of thinking is if we project that there are additional monies that would go, or not additional monies, but if there were monies that went unspent that you currently have that's being funded from the EANS monies, then we might recall them and figure out a way to redistribute those across the system. So right now, this is just we're in a philosophical stage at this point. We're just thinking about it, and we're just kind of looking at the numbers. We will definitely work directly with each college before there's a request to recall any monies, and we will have plans in place for how it would be redistributed back out to the colleges for other uses. So I just didn't want you to get surprised because, as you know, things can move very quickly in this realm, and our next meeting is not until December. So as things progress, we will do our best to keep you updated and keep you informed. But just to let you know that Allison will probably be reaching out in the next few weeks to your points of contact for Finish Line Grants to talk about projections and how much they think they will spend by the end of the fiscal year. Because the last thing we want to do is send any money back to the feds. So wanted to give everybody a heads up on the Finish Line Grants and the possible reallocation and moving around of some of the funding. I feel like I rambled there a little bit. Is there any questions or any thoughts about that? Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate your question in the chat. Yes, there is the possibility of changing some of the eligibility requirements because the funding source has changed. So excellent question, Brandon. We're working with the state agency is Office of State Budget Management, and we're working with the senator who sponsored the bill and his staff to find out exactly how much leniency or how much room we have to make changes to the Finish Line Grants eligibility requirements. So we're having those conversations. I don't know for sure what it will result in, but at least everybody's open to have the conversation, and I think that's good news. Any other questions about Finish Line Grants? Okay, not hearing any. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next area, which is the IDD project, which is also now funded via the legislation with recurring funding. And I think Nancy Guy, I think you're on the phone.
Yes, I am on the phone.
Hey, well, I don't think it's a phone anymore, is it? But could you give us a quick little bit of update on the IDD project?
Sure. First of all, we're extremely pleased that this recurring funding of almost $4 million was approved in the most recent legislative session. And the whole purpose of this funding is to continue the work and build on the work, expand the work in job training and career exploration and career opportunities for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And because we do have recurring funds, we're now in the early stages of looking at the process by which those funds are going to be distributed. There is a limit that was indicated in the legislation of 15 colleges. So 15 is the most that we will be able to fund with this money. There are a lot of details as things unfold that we don't know right now, but we do anticipate that colleges can apply for this funding in early spring, and actually this fall there will be a opportunity to submit a letter of intent to indicate that you would like to apply. So that's where we are now in the process. Thank you, JW.
Yeah, no problem, Nancy. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. I appreciate that. Any questions about the IDD project? Nancy's been serving as our part-time project leader for this, and so we're grateful for her work and all the energy that's gone into that project and working with that important group of students. We'll go ahead then and move on to the next area, which is enrollment management, and Monty's not able to join us today. However, his announcement is basically just reminding everybody about the upcoming phase 3 workshops for the strategic enrollment management work. You can see that they start at 9 o'clock. The Western region is on the 7th at Guilford Tech, and the Eastern region is on November 8th. And just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that announcement. Any questions about enrollment management and especially the SIM training that's coming up? Not hearing any questions, we'll go ahead and move on. Our next area is disability services and Title IX. Trudy Hughes is our leader in that area, and she was not able to join us today either. However, she wanted me to give everybody an update on the special recognition scholarship that's specifically for veterans and students with disabilities. I believe this is the second year of this scholarship, and it is going very well. So she's appreciative to all the people all the colleges that submitted student applications for those scholarships, and also to the scholarship committee who did the selection and went through that process. There were a lot more applications than available funds. So we'll have to continue the effort of looking for more funding to make sure we're taking care of those students. Any questions about disability services and Title IX? Okay, not hearing any. So now we're going to move on to another area. And before I turn the mic over to Brian, I need to give another update to the entire group. And that is we've gone through a little bit of reorganization at the system office when it comes to the BSAs. And so no, do not worry, the BSAs are not going away. They're still providing their excellent customer service to each of you and all of your colleges. So go ahead, you don't have to sweat that and don't worry about that. However, Brian and Andrea Simpson are moving over as far as a organizational structure is concerned. Will now be reporting to the student services area. The idea is that we can better align policy and colleague together if we're in the same meetings, we're in the same team meetings and doing work like that together. So and as you know, there's ERP work going on with the other BSAs. And so we're kind of looking at how can we better align things to keep the work going with the ERP and all of this at the same time providing great customer services to the colleges from the colleague perspective and the workflows. So Brian will begin sharing and working with us and being in our team meetings. But nothing will change as far as his duties and his work. He's just got a different boss. The bad news is I haven't logged into Colleague since I was at Randolph. So we'll have to rely on Brian's and Andrea's expertise without a doubt. So Brian, I've rambled enough about that. I'll put a couple of bullets here for you. Any updates from you?
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Yep, I agree with Dr. Kelly. I'll continue to do the same work that I've done since being in the system office in this BSA role. And my two updates you can see here on the slide. One is that not that I won't respond to an email or phone call, you definitely can always do that, but we do ask that colleges try to start with that service portal, even if it's just going in there and saying, hey, Brian, reach out to me or something like that. That's just at least gets the process started. So don't forget that option's there, but also you can get information about training and documentation in addition to the assistance from the BSAs in that portal. And the last thing, I sent an email to the admissions directors, to the registrars, to the CCP directors via the listservs regarding this CF&C application change deadline. There's a process again in the service portal to make those requests. We ask that you do that by November 1st because that'll give us time to present it to the committee of your peers, which will be meeting later in November to approve those change requests. And of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian before we move on? All right. Looks like you're getting off easy, Brian, on your first time with the group. So welcome aboard. We'll move on then to Jennifer with support services. Jennifer?
Yes. So I wanted to share, good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to talk about some upcoming training for NC career coaches. And so we offered regional meetings last year and they were so popular, we're going to bring them back because this is an excellent time for coaches to really get together and share some of the strategies that they're using for engagement and best practices in general from seasoned coaches so that they can network with the newer coaches that were brought on with our new cohort. So you'll see the dates and locations here. Our Western meeting is going to be on November 13th at Forsyth. You can click on this link here whenever the slides are sent out to register. And the Eastern meeting will be on November 30th at Everett County Community College. And again, you can register there. And also it gives the opportunity if a coach would like to present, they can do that, submit that information as well on this link. That was all I had this afternoon.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions for Jennifer, especially about the career coach program or anything like that?
Or advising if you have.
Or advising. Thank you. While we have a chance, I do want to give a public shout out to the IT team here at the system office for working with Jennifer on a new reporting portal that's available now for the North Carolina career coaches. And that I think will help us have better data quality and will also have a simplification for the coaches as far as collecting that data, we hope. The idea is we want our coaches doing the work of coaching, not just doing reports, right? So thank you for the IT team for that work. And seeing no questions, we'll go ahead and move to the next slide. And Andrea Simpson, the other BSA that's now part of Student Services. She's not able to be here today. However, she did want me to point out to everybody that the financial aid review team, and bless their hearts, thank you for all their work. And then, of course, Brandy Massey, too, has been working diligently on the simplification process and the NC template. They're hoping to have training available, I believe, in early spring. And if there's somebody on the review team or if Brandy's on, if I misspoke there, please let me know. But they're moving as quickly as they can to get that template in place. We know that you at the colleges need that as quickly as possible. So shout out to them and thank you for their hard work. And they're trying to get that out as quickly as they can. Any other questions on the financial aid in the template? All right, good, because I'd have to call Andrea and find out what was going on. So Thank you for your patience with that, and welcome aboard to Andrea as well. We have a couple of special guests with us today to give an update since our last meeting. You know, our last meeting was dedicated to the Developmental Education Course Alignment Project. And so we wanted to give any updates that about things that have happened between the last time we talked and today. So thank you to Katrina and Lucretia for being here today. And I'll be quiet now and give the mic to you guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone. We're so excited to be with you all again to share an update on the DevEd course alignment process. And so just want to give just a few brief updates and also just ask again for your feedback as we move through this process. And so since we last shared information with you all, we have been hosting sessions for faculty and department chairs to share information about the course alignment process and also to request additional feedback. One of the really important pieces of this work is to continue to receive feedback from all stakeholders, and we wanted to allow time to have our faculty and department chairs do that, since the bulk of the course alignment work occurred over the summer, and we know that many faculty are not on campuses during the summer. So we are working through that process this fall. We have hosted 2 sessions so far with over 120 participants in each one of those sessions. So they have been really well attended, and we have 2 additional sessions that we will host in November. So we're really looking forward to that. In addition, Lucretia and myself, we have been hosting co-director office hours several times each month to allow colleges to check in with us, to ask questions, to share what their campuses or their colleges are thinking about doing as far as developmental education is concerned. And so we really enjoyed speaking with different individuals from different campuses across the state, and we will continue to host those office hours as well. Also, moving forward, along with those feedback sessions, we are sending out additional surveys to faculty and department chairs so that they can provide written feedback on the course alignment process, what their desires are for their particular campus, so that our course alignment teams can finalize the course drafts and also present those for recommendation to the CCRC for approval. And so we will continue to work on that piece throughout this semester. We are looking to submit those courses for approval early spring. And so we are on track. Our course alignment teams will reconvene following the faculty and department chair sessions so that they can finalize everything. And so again, we have a ways to go, but we are still looking at a fall 2025 implementation. And so we're really excited about that. Our subgroups within the Developmental Education Advisory Council will continue to meet. Probably of interest to this group will be that our placement subgroup will be meeting to discuss placement testing and other methods of placement. And so again, we will be calling on this group for additional feedback. And also, as we move into the professional development phase, we will be looking to the student services area to assist us with that as well. And so thank you all for allowing us to provide an update. Lucretia, I'll pause. Did I miss everything, or did I cover what we've been doing?
Yes, you've covered what we've been doing.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And I'll turn it over back to you.
Sure. Any questions about DevEd before we change slides? So I think the big lift for our side of the house will be once the courses are decided, because we can't really talk too much about placement and the other types of workflows and operations until we kind of figure out what's going on, what the courses actually look like. So once that gets nailed down, I think then we'll have to put on our seatbelts and take off with this work. So thank you for your guys' leadership. We appreciate it. And we'll go ahead now and move on to our next group, which is the SDAA. And I know Scott wasn't able to make it today, but I think Latanya's here, right?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, Scott Johnson, who is the president of SDAA, was not able to be here today. I serve as the vice president of this organization. So basically just wanted to let you know what's happening with SDAA at this moment. We will have a virtual water cooler meeting, as it states on the screen, on November the 16th at 10 a.m. Dr. Gossett, who is the president of AB Tech, met with our leadership group. He is our liaison coming from the President's Association. He gave great feedback from the President's Association in terms of how they can work with SDAA to provide support. And so he will be with us on November the 16th at 10 o'clock, and we're looking forward to that. If you, I think that Scott sent out a link about questions for the President's Association coming from this group. And if we need to send it out again, we certainly can. That would be no problem at all. So we probably will send it out again, just in case you did not get that link. The other exciting news is that we are beginning to start planning for our joint conference that we normally have every year in the spring semester. And so we will begin that work and talking about what's going to be the most conducive time frame for this group to come together, because of course that is our academic colleagues as well as ourselves attending that conference. And so we have to sort of be mindful of what is going to be the best time. And so we'll begin meeting next week and begin talking about that. Certainly want to hear from this group in terms of some of the things that we might be interested in hearing from the group. We had a great feedback from the last conference that we had in March. You guys seem to like the format, which is great. And so certainly want to hear back from you again, because we do take your information and your feedback very seriously as we're planning this conference. Barring no questions, that's all I have. Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. And any questions for Latanya? Not hearing any, so we'll go ahead and move on. I think, Sabrina, are you available to talk about the N3C SDPA?
Yes.
Hey.
Hey. So in terms of N3C SDPA, we had a wonderful summer conference held here at Cape Fear Community College. We had over 100 attendees. And so kind of gained some momentum in terms of participation in the organization. And just to clarify the difference between NC SDAA and N3C SDPA is the N3C SDPA Association is really focused on entry and mid-level student services professionals. And so I'm happy to announce that after serving as president for a couple of years, I do now have a president-elect, Dr. Andre Davis from Durham Tech, and I'm super excited about where he and I will be able to take the association moving forward, and he will be taking the reins probably in July in terms of leading the group. So we are in the process of meeting next week as a leadership team. Or the beginning of November. I think that it may be next week. I think it's coming quick. So next week we'll be meeting as a leadership team to discuss what we plan to do in terms of conferences moving forward, whether or not we dovetail with SDAA or if we have a separate conference, and if we will continue to do that in the summer, or if we will move that to maybe a spring conference. So just keep your eyes peeled to your email. Also, I'm in the process of updating our website. So we have a whole new slate of not an entirely new slate of officers, but we have a lot of new officers, which I'm excited about because, again, we had a lot of the original folks that were serving and had served for 3 or 4 years. And so it was time for us to rotate, because those of us that have been with it for 3 or 4 years are ready to hand the reins over and bring in some new ideas. And so we're really excited about where we're moving.
Thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your work over the years to help keep that program going. Our professional organizations are so important to our networking and, problem solving. happens in a team of friends that we have across the state. So whether you're a senior administrator with the SDAA or you're a frontline manager with N3C SDPA, both of those organizations are just outstanding. And of course, there's other great professional organizations like for financial aid folk that are involved in those as well. Please, if your funding allows, encourage your people to get involved and to build those relationships and those networks, because I think it'll make them a better professional for you in your college. So thank you, Sabrina. Appreciate that. And Keisha, I put a great announcement in the chat. If you're still on, Keisha, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I am, and I can.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hopefully, hi everyone. Hopefully you all are doing well. So in the chat, we know that Senate Bill 364 legislation goes into effect December 1st. So beginning November 1st through December 1st, I will be hosting weekly sessions to help everyone understand what that legislation means and how we can continue to create culturally sustaining environments even with the legislation. I will focus very heavily on what we can do. I am working with Tawanda, the system office attorney, and creating a toolkit that I will go over in that session as well, kind of talk through some examples of how you can educate your campus, as well as how you can continue to do the work. So we really are trying to focus on what we are still able to do and not necessarily what we're not, or what we can't do. So those sessions are very limited on seating cap. So I recommend you go ahead and get registered. I will be adding some additional seats out there, but right now the seating cap is at 15 per session. I'm also coming to campuses or hosting sessions. So for a couple of colleges, they've asked me to meet with their DEI committee and or their administrators and just do a session specifically for them. That's also an alternative to come into that session.
Thank you, Keisha. Yeah, any questions for Keisha? Thank you, Keisha, for your leadership in this area. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure our students do too. Regardless of legislation, there's always going to be unique groups of students with unique needs that we're going to be trying to serve. And we know that probably better or close to better than anybody else in the state. So keep up the good work at the colleges. And Keisha, again, thank you for your leadership there. We'll go ahead and move on. The next is just a couple of announcements. And just a reminder that our next meeting is December 6th. And we'll get that information, that invitation and things like that out. However, if you want to go ahead and put that as a hold, that is going to be a whole quarterly meeting, I believe, that Dr. Merritt will be leading, but we will have student services updates there as well. The last slide is just a list of everybody on the student services team and their contact information. So if you need anything, as you know, usually email's the fastest way to get a hold of us, but there's phone numbers there as well. And we will continue to strive to serve you guys as you guys serve your students. So that's the end of our presentation for today. However, we'll go ahead and pause here for a second. I'll turn off the recording and see if there's any questions for anybody on the student services team, anything we can help you guys with.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. May I make one announcement?